Well, the map veto is ready and waiting, so let's bring it up and see where we will be heading for this second map. Of course, we are going to see... Oh, so Villa wasn't auto-banned, so that's because of the new ban?
I think there's a new change with the vetoes.
Either way, we're not going to say Villa.
Yeah, I think
Clubhouse.
most teams usually won't play the same map back-to-back.
Kanga wouldn't want to.
Not a good decision,
No.
usually.
Clubhouse?
Yeah.
We've already seen it once tonight. We saw Fnatic beat Homeless on it, 7-3. All the maps tonight have actually been 7-3.
Yep.
Which team's looking hotter going into this one?
Look, and Nixion have always had a couple of issues with Clubhouse. It was always a bit of a maybe a bad omen last season, but they've got a new roster, 2 new players that have really reinvigorated the way they play. So that's a dangerous combination coming into Clubhouse. Again, they're quite an experienced side, and Clubhouse, especially on attack, requires a bit of coordination and a bit of stuff to do. But Kanga have proven they can do that. So I think this one's going to be pretty even. Villa, to an extent, was kind of even. Who knows? Kanga definitely have a shot, but I think just based on experience, probably Nixion might take it.
Well, unfortunately, you guys were wrong in the very first of the community poll votes. Let's whip it up for map number 2 and see if the tides have shifted. No, Kanga is still going to be pretty heavy favourites heading into the second map. And based off Villa, I'd say that's pretty surprising.
Me too. I'm still kind of putting this down to a bit of an org effect. Like, Kanga Esports is a pretty big brand within ANZ, and I think a lot of people will probably recognize them and helping them support them. Whereas Nixion, of course, they're out on their own. They're orgless at the moment, and Nixion is just a team name. People probably don't recognize them as much, so I think that's probably swaying it a bit. As I said before, I'm still kind of leaning towards Nixion for this, I think, just based on their experience and the way their roster has changed. I think they're just looking pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, and heading to Clubhouse, it's a map where we could well and truly see another Thatcher ban on the board. We didn't see it in the previous matchup. If it comes out again, is that going to have a big impact on how it plays out?
I don't think so, because I think, again, the Maverick would probably be available unless we see a Thatcher Maverick ban, but that would be pretty chaotic and difficult to deal with. So we will have to see, but you know what? I think Thatcher is just such a common ban. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it comes out, especially from Kanga, seeing as Nixion will be the ones starting on attack.
Drum roll, please. Let's see who the first ban will be. It's going to be Maverick.
Yeah.
Shocked, surprised.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think the same situation as we had with the Fnatic game on Clubhouse earlier. If it wasn't going to be Thatcher, it was almost definitely going to be the Maverick. So Nixion going to ban out. The Capitao is going exactly the same way we saw earlier. That is how the Fnatic Homeless game played out on attack bans. Just helps with bandit tricking if you can't use that Capitao asphyxiation bolt, as well as the fact you can't use the Maverick to Maverick trick the wall open. Defense bans, Guz, do you think we're going to see any surprises? Mirror is already a pretty classic one. Last ban coming out for Kanga.
Well, I hope it's Echo, because I accidentally I've got my match tracker here on my tablet. It's not going to be, it's going to be my show. In the last matchup, I accidentally filled out the bans for this matchup, and it was 1-for-1 up until they took Maestro off the board. So that's a bit unfortunate, but look, it'll mix it up a little bit from what we saw earlier in the night.
That it will, and it is Kanga going to be starting on defense, which has usually been the strongest side on club, but that has changed a lot lately. And after seeing what we saw in Villa, I'm not prepared to say anything about defender-sidedness because it clearly might not be the case. And Kanga are going to go to Church Arsenal to start off with, I guess because of that Maverick ban. And no Kaid. Maybe they will 6-pick to a Kaid.
Oh
no. He's pretty helpful because, again, I mean, they can EMP it, sorry. But they'll have to use 2 EMPs at least to get 1 hatch. It's good use of burning a Thatcher utility.
You'd see Basement played a little bit earlier tonight. They were, particularly Homeless with Stigs, were utilising that bandit. So it is interesting to see that Kanga have fallen off that. And that could play a big role in how the late round plays out, which has been a real focal point of this matchup. If there isn't enough denial to stop them from getting in behind the bar, and Nixion are just going to run riot like we saw in Villa, even without being able to get the walls open. So I feel like if a Nixion play really strong hard breach, Kanga could be in a bit of trouble. So it's going to be up to them, I think, to delay as much time as possible, try and stop them from getting in, try and force them into those choke points.
Yeah, I think Kanga, I wouldn't be too surprised they try and pull out a bit of aggression again, especially players like Worthy, Unit, and Thumbnail. They like to move around pretty freely and try some really unpredictable, strange roams. I think especially seeing Worthy on this Jaeger would not be surprised to see him leg it up, and that is what he's trying to do, but
he's just running
not looking too good for him. He
he's on a treadmill.
Oh,
he's back.
Done?
Worthy, he's back.
Oh, there we go. We'll have to see what happens there, but we are in action phase. Nixion already have approached the building, and Unit is going to put some goo mines into dirt just to make sure that if push comes down, they get the sound cue. We have heard a charge of something go off somewhere, potentially a hatch from the Habana being opened. And no engagements at all, and it looks like Kanga are all on site, so no potential roam. Maybe we'll see a re-roam later or some kind of flank.
We did see Fnatic and Homeless both attempt to roam, or at least a setup above, which did waste quite a bit of time for the attackers. On this occasion, Nixion will have free reign above, and it's only going to take them a minute to get the bar hatch open. That really opens them up for the rest of the round as we see the Buck, I believe that's Vast, opening up the floor above as well. So Kanga already starting to feel the pressure vertically. That main wall as well, an angle already generated. And Nixion with really nice time management thus far.
Yeah, and if they are able to clear that shield out as well that Wayne Man was playing at, that could really do some damage and open up a big line of sight. But so far this has been very efficient, and God Legion opening the scorecard. He is a player that struggled a lot for Nixion on that first map, so if he gets into the game, definitely going to be a big issue for Kanga. That's the smoke off the board first as well, Gus. That's a lot of denial gone.
If you want to lose a defensive operator, that's definitely not the first that you want to lose. Wayman now is basically left alone to try and protect the wall. They're trying to flash him out. He has the TCSG, so probably not the best gun at close range with the ACOG. Can deal damage, but not the fire rate. He gets droned out as well. The shield could be his demise, and it takes him off the board. The Goyo will shut him down. Unfortunately for him, now it's a 3-on-5 for Kanga. Worthy getting lit up as well from Moto. He gets taken out from the double peak, and now it's a 5-on-2. Leb's over towards AK Unit. Hopefully is holding sight as well. He's holding the cross at the main wall. He needs to try and get one, but Digital gets both, and Onyxian will flawlessly take the first round.
Wow, that was a bit of a statement around there, guys. A really strong attack, and statement also from God Legion. He was so quiet on Villa, and he's opened that first round with a nice triple on the Zofia. So good, strong attack there. Kanga left a bit reeling. They're just going to get away from Church, and they're going to go to the gym bedroom now. They have to lick their wounds and figure out what to do differently.
And we've seen this a couple times. These lower tier teams, they may have a stronger map 1. Then map 2 starts to drop off. And if you've lost the first map 7-3 and you drop off for the second map, that's when things don't start to look good. Yes, it's early days, but I think that attack was pretty indicative in the approach that Nixion is going to take. They are not taking any prisoners. They took so much control so early. Kanga had no response. The Goyo on Goyo, that was a real tilter as well. And Nixion really expending their utility wisely, and Kanga just need to try and grasp it back slowly.
I am quite surprised that Wayne decided to really stick it near that shield. That hole was open in front of him, and it was pretty clear they still had the ability to clear that shield, and he was sticking right next to it. So maybe not a great decision from him. We are going to see a rehost coming out though, called by Kanga. So we are just going to go through with that, but. Yeah, that was a great attack from Nixion, and quite different to their Villa attacks. We talked about maybe their just reliance on coordination and refragging in Villa. This time, that was really methodical. They opened all the walls, hatches, beautiful use of utility. It was very different.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you note that they opened the walls and the hatches because they were actually able to. They had a lot more utility to use to enable that to happen, and it really only, I think, exacerbated Nixion's strong fragging potential that they carried over from map number 1. I guess that sort of raises the question, what do Kanga need to do to deny that? Because once the walls are open, they look vulnerable. What do they need to try and do in that phase to try and slow down Nixion?
I think one thing that Kanga could do to play to their strength is I talked about how before they've played a little bit unpredictable, a little bit aggressive. I believe Worthy was going to do a roam, but he was held up by his little treadmill in blue there and never actually made it to the top floor in that first 30 seconds. So I think that's something that they can do next time, just to play a little bit more aggressive, because if they can slow down Onyxian getting that progression, it might change the way the round plays out. But you know what's scary is even if they do that, basically what we saw with the Villa attacks was 30-second executes with nothing happened utility-wise, and Onyxian won 5 of those 6 attacks. So even if Kanga do slow that down, it's still not going to be necessarily easier, but I think that gives them their best opportunity.
And I guess if they are looking to slow it down, I guess that raises another question. How do you actually go about doing that? Because we saw in the previous round, Nixion had full control in like a minute, I think it was.
Yeah.
No castle barricades above to try and do a flank or a roam. As you mentioned, maybe that was flaunted by the little treadmill there. Either way, though, they had absolutely no time wasting above. Kanga were all forced to turtle on site, and Onyxian just tore that to shreds. So do you feel like a more roam-heavy playstyle could actually work here for Kanga, or is that maybe a little bit too risky?
It's going to be risky, but I think that's probably their best chance. Giving Nixion too much map control definitely just seemed like it worked against them. That is just one round, so that's all we've got to go off, at least for Clubhouse. But that's just what it seems. I think giving Nixion too much map control too early, they looked very efficient. They ticked every box for that attack then, right? Like they got the vertical map control completely, very quickly. They got their hatches open. They got their angle into church. They cleared out the utility with the line of sights. Kanga were just completely pinched. Perfect execute. So yeah, Kanga just have to derail that somehow. You would say that's going to have to come with the roam if it's early stage. And it's just going to have to be calculated. They're going to have to play with maybe a little bit of extra intel to enable that. And then just play naturally. Worthy is a player, like I said, that he plays pretty unpredictable, pretty aggressive. Thumbnail the same. I think those two players might have to step up for them.
Yeah, well, we are, of course, only one round into Clubhouse, so maybe let's just put that on pause for a second. Let's take maybe a more global view at the impact maybe of this match, I guess, in the standings of ANZ, because the Nixion are looking really, really strong so far. And if they do take the full 6 points, 3 from each map tonight, that only elevates their position and their lead even further against the teams of the likes of Wildcard and Fnatic. Do they realistically have a chance to finish in the top 2? Because if they don't falter against these lower teams, that's massive compared to the higher seeded teams that actually did.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up. So Kanga did manage to get the win against Wildcard. So that's 3 points in that head-to-head that Wildcard didn't get. So yeah, if Onyxian gets 6 points out of this head-to-head, that definitely does put them in a bit of a lead. And likewise, Wildcard got a draw in the first week. So I was talking about it in the pre-show for this match. That creates a 4-point deficit between Wildcard and Onyxian. That's quite big for like that top section. If you think about last season, it came down to that final week, and I think all Oddity needed were 2 points, or Onyxian. They needed 2 points to make the LAN, or they needed an extra 2 points out of those games, which they didn't get. Wildcard scraped through. Right now, they're looking at a 4-point lead if they can close this map out. So that really is, like, it could potentially just be the difference.
And I guess a 4-point lead at any stage of the season is quite significant. But it's almost hard to sort of look past the fact that we're actually only in the second week.
Yeah.
And having a lead that big can really have a flow-on effect, not only just raw standings statistically wise, but I think a Nixion will be able to thrive off that confidence and really be able to just have the mindset that, yes, maybe we can actually do this. It isn't impossible to sort of knock these teams off. Let's sort of switch sides though. Kanga is a team that I think have performed quite well, considering they are from the Challenger League. Are they performing well enough to avoid relegation? And if they are, maybe let's have a look at what teams could actually fall under that line, because in ANZ, the top 2 teams will automatically go down to Challenger League.
Bottom 2 teams? You said top 2.
Did I say top 2?
Yeah. It's okay.
Top 2 will go to the APAC finals.
But yeah, I do think Kanga do. We haven't seen as much from the other teams. So for example, Mindfreak, or ex-Mindfreak I should say, and Fury. They both haven't played this week. So we've only seen one match from those guys, and they actually played each other. So you haven't really got a whole lot to compare that with. Sinister on the bottom at the moment. They're the only team that haven't got a point. So at this stage, you could say like they're trending towards one of those bottom 2 positions. So the other teams would be all fighting to stay out of that other. But yeah, I think so far, Kanga have really made a solid case that they probably are a top 6 team. I think they can avoid relegation.
And I guess this matchup really is sort of really key in locating exactly where they are going to finish. If they lose both these matches against Nixion, that really doesn't really help their cause. I guess once we get deeper into the season, that's when these lower seeded teams from the Challenger League will actually verse those lower seeded teams alongside them. That's sort of just how the format works. Will they have enough of a lead to sort of falter back on if they maybe falter against those lower teams? I guess that's a question that we can ask and answer later in the season. For now, does Kanga have what it takes to beat a Nixion? I mean, going into map number 1, I think you and I said that they had a fair chance. You guys at home thought they had an even better chance. And Villa just didn't play out as many of us expected. So map number 2, I know we haven't got much to go off, but does Kanga have sort of that X factor that Onyxian are bringing to the table?
I mean, so far it doesn't look likely. That first attack just looked way too good. But again, it's the only attack we've seen, and there was some issues with Worthy. Not able to really execute what he wanted to execute, and maybe that round just didn't play out how Kanga prepared for it to play out. So it is hard to say, but I think just so far Nixion just look really good. Like their Villa, to an extent, was a little bit scrappy. We keep talking about the way they attacked and the fact they weren't opening walls, they weren't really using a lot of their utility in the traditional sense, but they were just so easily able to refrag it out onto site, and they secured 5 of those 6 attack rounds. I think that is a really big indicator to just like the form they're in and the way they're playing. I think it's probably going to continue. It's definitely an uphill battle for Kanga, and if they can't get at least 3 of these defenses, I'm going to say probably not the map for them.
And I mean, we're praising Nixion quite a bit here, and I think it's almost easy to overlook the fact that they are Orgless at the moment, so they don't have the support that they may have had previously when they were under the Oddity organization. So I guess if you're an Org owner out there looking for a team to pick up, hit up Onyxian because they're looking pretty strong. Do you think that Onyxian, I guess the first part of my question is, do you think they have what it takes to be picked up by a decent org that maybe can support them part-time, full-time? And if they do, what sort of effect can that have on the team? Because we've seen Wildcard, for example, previously known as Orgless, get picked up, and now they're heading to Montreal. Fnatic for such a long time have had that support and been at the top of the region. Yep. I guess, as I alluded to, will they be picked up? And if they do, what's the effect of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they will, and they've proven for over a year that they are a top 4 team. Season 9, they finished top 4. I believe even Season 8, they finished top 4. Season 10, they finished 3rd. So it's still trending up, and this roster probably is looking to be, so far, early season, the best roster they've had. So their performances are just getting better and better. I think definitely worth the support. Like, look at ANZ. The 2 teams ahead of them, based on where they finished last year, Wildcard and Fnatic. What are those teams doing? They're going to 6 Invitational. And right now, Nixion are potentially looking at taking a land spot away from one of those teams. So looking at that, yeah, I think looks great. And with a bit of support, maybe it could be, or more support, could be a bit scary.
Do you think it would be fair to say that Nixion have improved since last season? Because we know there was a bit of a change at the helm. I mean, you were coaching them. I know you're going to hate me for bringing this up, but you were coaching them. You're not coaching them anymore. You've obviously become a caster. I don't know why you want to do that, but anyway. How are you feeling this roster is comparing now that we've had a couple of weeks to see them?
Yeah, I mean, it's still early, but so far it's looking really good. It's definitely different to how they've been playing the last 12 months, but it's hard to argue that it's not working out better. They've been closing out more rounds. They've had some pretty strong performances, and just in general, they're looking very confident. And yeah, it's just hard to argue with that. And again, if they end up closing this out, hard to argue with that result. That's another 6 points that would be essentially flawless, undefeated. So early days, but it's looking pretty good.
Well, we are finally back in the map. Isn't it great? You don't have to listen to us as much anymore.
We still have to listen to us.
Yeah, they stopped. You know what I mean. You know, the casters start the game. We did start the game.
Yeah, of course.
We just wanted to talk. We just didn't want the game to go on any longer.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the power. We don't really. Bit of an unfortunate rehost, either way. Jim Benjamin, it looks like they might be taking a little bit to load in, so hopefully we're not back for another rehost.
I think the server just wants to listen to us right now. But either way, yeah, look, it's going to be same ops because we did see it locked in the prep phase. Fun fact, if anybody didn't know, even though with a rehost you have to use same ops, different players can play those ops.
I didn't know that.
Just as long as the lineup is the same. So that's.
Oh, are we going in?
We are in, guys. It's going to be
the
round starting out now, and Kanga, they are gym bedroom. Didn't really see much of their setup at all before the rehost was called last time. And Onyxian, they've got the same lineup as they had in that first attack. It's a pretty well-rounded lineup to be able to deal with a lot of things. Two hard breaches, the Thatcher, and then just 2 ways to deal with soft breaches. Yeah, it's very well-rounded overall.
Guess what, Raven?
What's that?
Unit's running the shotgun again.
Unit is running the shotgun.
There's no way! Well, we saw him on Villa. He had a really nice angle in Closet and got a couple. Not quite sure where he's going to play it here, but I am very excited to watch it because it is a weapon that we don't see played very often and could make for some fun and exciting gameplay.
It could, and it's always exciting to see like these really small changes to, I don't know whether you could call it meta yet, but we are seeing a big shift towards using the FBI shotgun. But it's always interesting to see how it starts to become a thing and how it works. So Unit might make that spot on Villa a thing now. Maybe we start to see a lot more people play Closet with FBI Shotgun, or even just play Closet with Shotgun. But yeah, maybe he'll find a little spot here that's a little nifty. See how we go. Nixion entering from the east side here, opening CC wall. Looking to clear east to west for the gym bedroom attack.
Wall getting opened up very quickly here by Nixion. Red using the first of his exothermic charges. He'll probably save the second for the cash wall, if required. If not, Digital should be able to help him out and create some angles to flush out Worthy and Wayman, who are holding this side off the map. Gold Legion, he's at the top of Garage, so it does look like Onyxian are going for a take here of CCTV quite heavily. Try and gain control and really start to push their attack forward.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be really careful. There's two players playing around there. Worthy on a flank as well. Below, he is going to catch the buck off guard. That's a big pick onto Vast. Worthy's going to piece out through blue and run through the Arsenal away from there. At the same time, Red is just going to work on that wall, open it up. And be able to take cash now as those roamers have cleared out. Have to be careful of a long angle, potentially through that construction wall. They will still have to be careful of Worthy as he is on the roam.
Minute 30 to go. Nixion have gained some decent traction, but losing Vast isn't the best. Leb is using his Yokai drones to gather some intel in Con. So once these Nixion members start to push in, they will be fully spotted out, or at least called out by these... Was that the Yokai
that was shot? The Yokai, yep.
Okay, well, Red has X-ray vision apparently. They've great shot by him, and that'll really deny a lot of the intel that Kanga was trying to gather on this side of the map. Geo gets one though, Wayman off the board. 4v4, a minute to go.
I think it was the drone that spotted that Yokai, and you know what? Another fun fact. I think Yokais are easier to spot on drones. Digital finds another frag onto Unit though, so 4 versus 3, looking pretty good for Nixion. God Legion does get that frag onto Thumbnail. Worthy trades back. Geo has been down, so it's essentially 2 versus 2 if they can't get Geo back up. Worthy and Leb both playing around that main stairs area, which means that they can only get some pixel angles towards that con door to try and deny. Worthy can rotate around to Jim. Geo is going to get potentially picked up by Digital here. I don't think that can really be denied. And that means it will end up as a 3 versus 2 for this final 30 seconds, Guz.
Nixion still with a healthy amount of time left to try and mount their attack. Leb and Worthy still in strong positions though. Worthy's able to hold the con door. Leb's been tasked with holding the entrance to con, as well as the exit to his left. There is a player there, he pre-fires it, but misses the shots. 10 seconds left on the board now. Worthy has been flushed out of bathroom, making that con entrance even more powerful as God Legion gets one. Oh my goodness, God Legion! God Legion has been activated. We saw him quite quiet. Not good wording there on map number 1 Villa, but he's coming back with vengeance here in round number 2 of map number 2.
Yeah, 6 frags in 2 rounds. It's definitely helping Nixion through to these attacks, and even though there was a little bit of adversity there, they still looked pretty good on those attacks. Vast was the early pick, but it didn't end up having a whole lot of impact. They still got through cash pretty quick and got that logistics control. Nicely played by them. Kanga are going to repeat that church. Worthy potentially going to be able to do the roam he tried last time. Wait and see whether that works out. Potentially that was working out for them that last round. We talked about what do they need to do to counter Nixion. We said maybe a bit of aggression early roam. That's what happened. Worthy did get that opening pick. Still didn't work out for them though.
So many of these rounds tonight have been close, particularly from these lower tier teams. We saw on this map earlier, Homeless taking it up to Fnatic, but he's not quite having the finesse to close out some of these rounds. And Kanga beginning to give off this vibe here on their second map. Didn't quite give off that vibe on Villa, as neither team really had a lot of success on the defense, and part of that was just the sheer aggression that the attackers were bringing. But Nixion have slowed it down a little bit here, much more methodical for this map, and I guess the bans have definitely facilitated that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's allowed them, look, they're bringing the exact same lineup again, and I honestly don't think their attack lineup will really change until they face some kind of adversity, but at this stage, this lineup is just so well-rounded, it's able to deal with everything. And I think, like you said, that's really enabling them to be a bit more methodical and thorough, and that's tricky for Kanga to deal with, on top of their ability to just frag or trade those kills. So yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for Kanga. I'm curious to see the differences here. Worthy is still on site, so maybe not going for that room.
I guess one key difference that I noticed is the shield that was placed at the black boxes. It wasn't a Go shield this time, because we saw previously Wayman actually got killed by his own shield, the one that unit is sitting behind it.
Yep.
Thanks, MC. Hearts in chat for MC. What a goat. It is a really powerful position, though, if they are going to try and deny that entry. And I guess not having it as a go shield is definitely a safer bet.
Yeah, because at least then if it gets cleared and he is playing at it, he'll just take a bit of HP damage, but not actually get fragged out. So that's a good change so far. They do still have the Goyo. But some quick entry here from Nixion in this first minute. They've taken vertical control. It means they can start opening their hatches and potentially start getting the church wall open, which probably is going to be the attack they're going to do it for. They're a bit worried about a Kaid maybe being 6-picked, but it hasn't happened, so his EMP's wasted, but at least creates a bit of safety. And so far, some good progress here from Nixion.
Hatch drop comes out though from Red. He's looking to get this wall open ASAP. Still over a minute 30 on the board. Unit could try and deny it though. Is it in time? Just. He will deny the wall and the Habanas, but the exothermic charge will be detonated. He uses that shield, as we previously mentioned, to give him some coverage. Digital did drone that out though, so they are aware of his position. C4 comes out and it'll be another wasteful C4. That's definitely been a trend so far tonight. And Kanga might find this even more difficult now to deny the plan.
Yeah, Thumbnail's pushed up aggressively though. It's something that we talked about, his unpredictable aggression, but he will get traded at least by God Legion again, getting another frag. Nixion opening unit just left looking at Moto, fragged out by Red, caught sleeping. It's a 4 versus 2, all of a sudden Guz. There's still a whole minute to go for Nixion as Red's going for this plant. Wayne Man wheels around though, finds one, again refragged beautifully, making it 3 versus 1. Leb's got a lot of time to have to delay. He's not going to deny the plant, so he's going to have to try and retake Church.
Leb left in a 1-on-3. There's a ping over towards blue, but he doesn't hit the wall bang. He's now left in a very compromised position over towards Arsenal, and I'm sure Nixion have set up perfectly for this post plant, holding all of his entrance points. They know that there's a player blue, but that player is not peeking Leb, and that really compromises his entry towards the hallway. And Onyxian will shut it down. That's Geo with the final frag, and that's 3 straight for Onyxian.
It isn't. They're just looking really good on these attacks. Everything's working out well for them. They're progressing so quickly. The fact that they're able to clear out Church and still had a whole minute for that plant. It was, I think, a 2 versus 3 at that stage, and then it went down to that 1 versus 3. Just so hard for Kanga to counter. And it's not looking too good for them on Clubhouse so far, guys. It's, again, following a very similar trend to what we saw with the Fnatic game on Clubhouse. They shot out to that really early lead, just looking too good on their attacks. It's the same thing here, and Kanga, they're going to change it up again. Going to cache CCTV. Just continuously changing these bomb sites, trying to get something happening.
We haven't seen cache defended yet by Kanga. They went Arsenal, then they went over to Bedroom, back to Arsenal, and now they've finally taken this bomb site. Probably the only 3 bomb sites we will see tonight. Bar is very, very rarely seen in competitive. I think it might have been defended successfully once in like LATAM this season.
Yes.
I mean, that's LATAM. They're crazy over there.
Yeah. Very different meta. Very strange meta compared to us at least, but hey, it works for them. And I just wish we would see more bars, to be honest. I love seeing those off-meta sites be developed, like something new happen. It's really cool.
I mean, it's almost like teams maybe dry run it, have okay strats possibly, but just don't really have the confidence when there's 3 sites that are arguably better, so that's why we don't see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does break my heart a little bit. It would be nice. Because I mean, that site used to be quite hectic back before the rework.
Yeah.
Definitely made for some interesting plays, but unfortunately, we don't see it anymore. F's in the chat.
Maybe one day it'll rotate back in, but for now, yes, it is these main 3 bomb sites, and Nixion will be attacking CCTV cache, and looks like their priority again is this Kennel's wall into CCTV. They're going to have to drone it out and make sure this bandit trick isn't happening. They've got a couple of things to counter it. One thing they don't have is the Zofia though, which is usually the easiest way to counter it, is some kind of stun. But they have the Buck. He could go below, frag grenade it, buck it out. Their best option.
Definitely potential for Thumbnail to pull it off. Red tries to drone below. It gets taken out though. So it looks like Kanga are trying to deny as much info from below as possible. I think Worthy and Unit are actually holding a really strong position inside of Lounge, trying to give Thumbnail as much presence as possible, protection as possible. Unit's actually all the way in blue. He is so lucky to not die. Worthy, though, he doesn't quite have that same luck. He will be taken off the board, and now it's effectively a 5v3 to the players on site. Unit needs to try and get back, but even still, only a slither of HP, and he's only really going to have a C4 that could impact this round if he hasn't used it already.
Yeah, and he's gone to garage, so I think they're just going to have to be careful about cutting that off if they want to enter lounge. He's sitting over at that spot under the stairs. Leb is there to back him up, but I think that means the Buck will be able to get in and do his job. Clear out those charges. The wall will go open. That's some alright time management there with half the round ticking away now. Nixion can get ready for an execute, but one thing they will need is maybe a little bit more garage control if they want to get this plant.
That was almost big from Fast. He uses the skeleton key from below to flush out the player on that con wall. Almost netted himself a kill, but it wasn't meant to be. Leaving it still in a 5-on-4. Kanga do have garage control, which is strong for them, but Leb has been droned out his position well and truly called out to the rest of the Nixion lineup. Thumbnails found his way all the way back to... Oh my goodness, Unit with the C4. We've seen a C4 kill. Unit on 1 HP will be successful. Leb gets taken out from garage, and that opens up the round nicely, though, for Onyxian, despite that IQ being taken off the board.
Yeah, Thumbnail and Unit both been tagged, so it's going to make it even trickier for Kanga here. Nixion being very careful about players potentially still on the roam. Unit is still on the roam, and he is running to that oil pit, which was checked by Red, so he's going to call that clear. This could come back to bite them. He might be able to get one on the stairs. Oh, he just sees the feet, but misses completely. Vast tagged up, but gets Wayne Man. That means it's all up to Thumbnail on site here. They're going to know it. Unit is taken out, and then is Thumbnail. Another great attack from Onyxian. They're on a bit of a roll here, Guz, and it's starting to really bounce away from Kanga.
Really beginning to snowball here. 4 defense losses straight. They've tried all 3 of the primary sites. Maybe it is time for Bar, I don't know. But either way, something is just not working for Kanga. They look strong for the majority of the round. But we've said it time and time again. In the last 30 or so seconds, Onyxian, bang. They switch on, they flick a switch, fragging heavy, refragging really effectively, even if they don't have all their manpower. I mean, we did see a really nice C4 there from Unit. IQ was off the board, so that's a 3-speed who can frag out nicely in those scenarios off the board, but they still managed to push through. Kanga left on the back foot, and that scoreline is looking pretty dire.
It is, and there's also a bit of a story of unfortunate timing there. Unit might have been able to open it up. He just saw the feet of that player running up the garage stairs. If he had just been half a second earlier, maybe he would have been able to get that frag, but on the other hand, maybe he would have been spotted and just fragged out in that situation. We won't know, but either way, Kanga are facing a 4-round deficit here in the 5th round. They've got 2 to go in this half, and if they want any chance of salvaging Clubhouse, they need to win at least one of these defenses. At least one. But even then, it's a big battle for them.
If you were the coach of Kanga right now, or at least after this game, what would you be saying to them in terms of their mental game and their mechanical game, I guess, as well, in the late stages of these rounds? Because they're not the only team in ANZ at the moment that you could say is having these issues. Sinister, on this very map last night, also had the same issue of these last-minute plays really falling apart for them. So is there any sort of advice or any sort of thought process that you can get behind that Kanga could try and follow to try and improve in these last-minute situations?
What seems to always be the case when this kind of stuff happens with lots of teams, and it's a super common issue, which we're clearly alluding to here, or pointing out, people just seem to lose their heads. They get a bit excited, or a bit ahead of themselves, and then because they're focusing on that emotion, they're not really staying composed. And that's the difference, I think, between experienced and inexperienced teams. So Fnatic is the best example lately of how to stay composed in those situations. Like the amount of clutches they've had in like 1vx or 2vx situations, it shows the disparity and the difference between how to play it out. So an example with Sinister last night, they were in that clutch situation with Mentalist, and they kept trying to peek him. They keep trying to do the aggressive frags, and that's just not really how it works. Then it just creates this negative mindset moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, Digital has opened the score onto Worthy. So that's the aggressive roamer again taken off. So not looking good for the start here for Kanga.
Kanga at the man disadvantage. We've seen them struggle even with the advantage. So this round already not boding well for them. Still plenty of time though. Minute 45 left on the board. Red opening the wall in towards logistics, and that'll make a bigger headache for Kanga, who now need to watch that entry. Joyo's on the balcony, so they have clear cash. He can sit there quite comfortably. Claymore's the run out in case Kanga get aggressive late. Talk about aggression. Unit is in quite an aggressive spot here near the hatch. Could easily be taken out if the peak comes out wide. It's going to be a contest here. The shotgun against the Buck, and he loses the fight. That's Vast taken out. Leb tries to follow it up. He gets one. Can he get the second here with the bearing 9? No, Thumbnail will steal that kill, so it's a 3-on-3.
Yeah, nice little refrag coming up from Kanga there. Good display from them. Thumbnail saving his teammate essentially because he was about to be pushed on and refragged himself. It's making it a 3 versus 3 with a minute to go. Still gives the attackers a bit of time. 3 versus 2 now as Digital does finally find Leb. Wayneman trades back. So 2 versus 2. This is really back and forth here, Guz. As time ticks away, it will start to favor these defenders. So Nixion will need to keep that in mind. But they're pretty separated, so they can try and isolate these and take the 1v1s.
We've seen Kanga play pretty similar positions in towards bathroom and stairs previously. Thumbnail gets lit up, and now it's looking really dicey for Kanga. If Digital can get a couple frags here, it's going to be well and truly over here for Kanga in this round. Thumbnail's so low, he still has a C4 in hand, which could come up clutch. But if he takes one more bullet, he's going to be taken out.
Yeah.
20 seconds left. Digital giving some really nice intel that Gio can play off now as he tries to exit from Con. Digital gets one though, so it's Wayneman and
what a shot
Gio
from
with
Gio.
the flick. The double headshot to round it out, and then Nixion are just looking like they're on another level.
Yeah, just that combo of Digital and Gio. It's the 2 new players for Nixion, and we've seen them in these situations so many times tonight, and it's just, they keep closing them out, and it's just been the difference. And again, we're just seeing, look at this scoreline. It's up to 5-0 now. It's almost a flawless attack half from Nixion on club, which is definitely not the situation Kanga want to be in. And they're going to go to Church Arsenal now, Guz. Feeling they can maybe make a change there. We'll have to see whether they can pull it out. Sticking the Goyo, but hasn't seemed to have had a positive effect, at least, on this defense.
Talking about shields, I really, really thought we were going to see a clash there, but Thumbnail, he'll jump off it. Mozzie is the 6th pick. Haven't seen any clash tonight. Haven't seen a lot of clash, I don't think, all season. Very specific operator for specific sites, and teams really have to practice with her quite a lot for it to pay off, because it's definitely a high risk, high reward strategy, because it does effectively bring one less gun. But we have seen teams pull it off. Unfortunately, we won't see it tonight, or at least so far. Kanga with a pretty similar lineup. You did mention the Goyo as well, which I guess the question is, has Goyo actually had a big effect on how this map's played out? Because so far, I feel like it hasn't really stopped any rushes. There haven't been many forced faults either, so maybe Goyo not having a great impact for Kanga.
Yeah, I really don't think so. Essentially the way they're using him or the way they're placing their shields, or potentially just how Nixion's countering it. But either way, yeah, not a massive effect, but see whether it works this time. Leb sticking onto that Echo as well as he did last time. No big changes besides Worthy onto the Vigil. So again, Worthy looking to probably play aggressive. Looks like he's likely the silhouette upstairs, and it looks like he's got a buddy with him, so maybe they're going to do a 2-man roam. See how this works out for them against Nixion this time.
I'm not sure if my eyes are deceiving me, but I could have sworn that they had a pretty strong setup on the 3rd floor. Keep in mind, they're defending the bottom floor, so they're trying to bait Onyxian into taking them out on the top floor, waste utility, maybe even get a pick or 2 on them. We also see Digital inside of bar, no barricades holding him from getting rushed either, so a super risky play here from Kanga, who are trying to get around back on this defense. Thumbnail opens it up. Gold Legion off the board. That's a really strong fragger who has been performing well in map number 2. If Kanga can keep it rolling and keep baiting Onyxian into these picks, maybe Kanga will be able to get around.
Importantly as well, taking Gold Legion off the board, that's the Zofia. Not able to take out those shields is easy. It's basically all going to be down to Vast with his frag grenades. So the Goyo might prove very strong now, but Nixion look like they're just going to bail out. There's no point pushing into this. 2 of them are into bar. They're going to push deep. Red in a fight with Leb. Doesn't get the pick. Wayneman to back up Leb. Oh, it's all falling for Nixion here. Kanga with a strong round now. It's all up to Gio. But Guz, have we seen this man clutch 1v5 before?
A 1v5, and it was a post-plan. Even more crazy. But look, not probably looking as great in this scenario. He is playing Thatcher, who is an okay fragger. There you go. He gets the thirst onto Worthy. If he gets maybe one more kill, I'll start to get a little bit more excited. But for now, that defense from Kanga, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
They didn't allow Onyxian to gain that control, which has given them the comfort in these attacks. Gia, meanwhile, he's going to push down blue, try and get another. Oh, okay. Thumbnail's off the board. He has been stunned. The intel definitely there for Kanga, and his position will be revealed. Trying to use those EMPs to deny the Echo drones. Tries to peek over towards AK. Pre-fires a dead body. That's not ideal. There actually is a player behind the shield to his right. Surely he doesn't get the pick onto him. He won't. The crossfire finally comes out from Kanga. And Raven. Woo! They're going to take a round. Let's go!
Yeah. And look, it was a great round. It was a great room set up. I'd say the error there was just really Nixion's judgment, trying to push into it. I think it was pretty clear that Kanga were playing desperation there, really. They wanted a round. Like, it was so desperate to have such a aggressive roam. It was a 3-man roam, basically. And Nixion really tried to play into it, maybe thinking they could, you know, clear it out, but didn't work out for them. They still will have a 5-1 advantage coming into their second half, and they're going to be on defense now. Maybe it might play out like Villa, where it's a real attacker affair again, but I have to say I'm not too sure about that. We'll see what Kanga can pull out on these attacks.
Kanga managed to take 6 straight here. I don't even know. I don't think I can say it on broadcast what I'm thinking. Surely not. I mean, not only is the scoreline 5-1, but I think it's actually quite reflective of how each team has been playing, or at least how strong a Nixion have been playing. We have sort of made the argument that earlier tonight, all these 7 threes have actually really been a lot closer than the scoreline would suggest. But I think that 5-1 probably is leaning in favour of a Nixion quite heavily. They've been playing so well on those attacks, albeit just the last one where they sort of got caught out by the roam. Switch of halves now. They are on the defense. They get to sort of play a bit more passive, play their game a little bit more, force Kanga into making that first move, and maybe that's where we'll see them slip up.
Yeah, I agree. I think that scoreline is very reflective of where exactly this game is at. They are going to defend Church, and they're doing a roam as well. Man, this is really coming into meta now, some kind of roam for the Church defense. And you'll see how they handle it. Not using the castle as we've seen other teams do, but not necessarily the big factor. Kanga didn't use the castle, for example, and it worked out well, but see what Onyxian do. Digital onto the Echo for that intel and anchor play. Hopefully he can use those to great effect, and we'll see what Kanga does with this roam, whether they decide to push in or whether they decide to ignore it.
Does look like Kanga will head above. We see Unit and Leb. Thatcher Thermite combo respectively heading towards this server wall. God Legion is there to greet them. He's playing over towards the catwalk. The wall gets open, the drone comes out. His position has been revealed. Will he be taken out from the rappel? No! God Legion gets away with his life fast, also taken down low. I guess importantly for Kanga, none of them lost HP in that gunfight. So later in the round, that will help them.
Absolutely, and it also means that Vast and God Legion are both one shot. So was Red, and actually now he is taken out. So this is a good, strong entry from Kanga. Thumbnail taken down as well, or taken low, I should say. But either way, they've got this man advantage. Nixion just going to have to try and burn time. Geo takes him out with the frag grenade. Pokeballed him into the pocket. It's Thumbnail not taking an effect now. Some Zofia utility taken off. Pretty helpful, and look, it's a good entry from Kanga, but they weren't able to secure those roam frags, so it could come back to bite them. We'll have to wait and see.
There is at least one still roaming. That'll be Mozzie and Jim. Vast is super low in that position. If they can cut off that rotate, it should essentially be a free kill. Not quite sure where the Jaeger is found himself. Is he back on site? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it might just be, but either way, they're going to have to deal with the Mozzie, because otherwise he can just simply drop the Gym Hatch, re-roam and contest in the bar area. They seem pretty aware he's around that area. He's quite surrounded, one at Gym Window, one at Master Window, one at the Logi Hatch. And if he's able to get out of there, that's going to be a bit of an L for Kanga, because he is isolated, he is low HP, and actually he is back on site, guys. So slipping away, only leaving 50 seconds, that actually has really swung the favour of how that roam turned out.
Definitely wasted a lot of time. Kanga now will need to try and capitalise on the fact that they are still low on HP. Nixion, they didn't bring a dog, so they're going to be stuck on that amount of HP for the remainder of this round. 30 seconds left in this round, and Unit's trying to get aggressive in the hallway. He still has 2 EMPs left. Geo from below, though, gets Wayne Man, I believe, inside of Kitchen. Kanga well and truly on the back foot is worthy. He's still generating angles, and I mean, sooner or later, Kanga are either going to be forced into the hatch drop or forced down the stairs. Vast gets a C4. Leb gets a nice shot, though, onto Geo, and he's now going to drop the hatch. This is dangerous. Can he get a couple kills? Can he get the plant? He's going to attempt it. Worthy needs to cover, but the coverage isn't there. Leb will stick it, but no, he won't. Yeah, the Oko drone. Oh, my goodness. I almost thought he got the 2K there. Leb. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Onyxian, though, they take the round. Man, if Leb hit that play,
that would have been pretty nuts.
I don't think he'd be as angry at me for
no, probably not.
All the other rounds. Sorry, Leb.
Speaking of angry, maybe Kanga a little angry that they're now at a 6-1 deficit. Nixion on match point. 5 perfect rounds required from Kanga to salvage this map, and that's going to be a big task because Nixion looked pretty good on that defense. Even though they were tagged low on that roam, they just kept evading those roam hunters, and in the end, Vast burned so much time in the end getting back to site, giving themselves only 50 seconds to really work site. Just not enough for Kanga. And now it's going to be a gym bedroom hold, which we've seen very popular as we're talking about in the previous matchup with Fnatic and Homeless. I'll have to see what Kanga can do to deal with this because they need to be perfect.
We saw gym and bedroom play twice in the first half. Unfortunately, none of those were successful for Kanga, as they only won the last round, which was downstairs. Maybe we'll see something different here on the attack. Unfortunately, the last round just didn't quite work out. The flank watch just wasn't there, and it's a similar trend to what we saw Homeless, the other team that came to the Challenger League. Maybe they just didn't quite have the comms in position. They had the time because Mozzie was inside of gym for so long. It wasn't like he rotated out really quickly, and I feel like if it was a Nixion in that situation or another high tier team, they probably would have had a player go really quickly, maybe to Jacuzzi Wall or even the mainstairs window, a position where they could have easily denied that flank, even if it sacrificed that player from being somewhere else potentially.
Yeah, I think hesitation spelled the death of Kanga in that round. They had a player at gym bedroom window. They had a player on the logistics hatch. I'm sure they would have had a player around lounge bar. Like, that is everything you need to cut off somebody roaming in gym. Watch the hatch drop, watch gym directly from the window, drop the logi and watch that hallway. He is stuck, he's not getting out of there, but nobody really did anything at that stage. Maybe they were worried about the intel when that's what created the hesitation. But either way, they just let Vast drop out of there and even get all the way back down main stairs to site. So, yeah, unfortunate for Kanga, and now they're going to have to dig deep here. 40 seconds into this first round. They've started to make some work towards CC Cash. Looks like that's what they're going to clear out, and it is Vast again on that roam. Can he be as slippery as last time, or will Kanga be able to shut him down? Thumbnail just saves himself at the last second. That C4 almost spelling the end.
Changing mags!
Another failed C4 for the defenders, unfortunately. Not really a misplay by Vast, more so a really great flick by Thumbnail. But Vast now will find himself under a lot of pressure. He's basically going to die here, but how many kills can he get on the exit? Almost gets one. Will he get the second? There he will. Unit gets down, and Thumbnail as well! Vast, that is insane. That's the double, and he could well get the triple onto the wall. He does! Leb's dropped. That's the triple for him. The diffuser is down, and Wayne Man is left in a 1-on-5. He needs to try and salvage this round for his team to give them any chance at drawing out the map. But it's going to be a tall order. And Nixion have such a strong position. They know exactly where Wayman is playing, and they're just going to sit and wait.
Wow, the Vast just tore them apart. 2 rounds in a row that Vast's roam has really been the end of Kanga. And that's the end of Vast, at least. 4 more to find for Wayman, but it is going to be very difficult. He's got a minute to play with. He's still got some utility behind him, and he's got some good weaponry. He's definitely got a chance, but it is looking slim at this stage, guys.
Wayne Man holding the angle over towards logistics. He's actually going to try and bait it out with the drone. Shoots his own drone in the end. He knows that this round is basically a lost cause, and Nixion are holding so many crossfires on both these entry points. They know exactly where he will be coming from, and this should spell his death. And it will! And Nixion will take the 8th round, winning this map 7-1. Such a strong performance from them, and Kanga just not showing the same flair that they had on map number 1.
Yep, they never really looked in Clubhouse at all. Nixion stringing together so many attacks in a row, and then those defenses looking so good. Just Kanga unable to shut down the roam effectively enough. And yeah, Nixion, they're making a statement. They finally bucked the 7-3 trend of tonight and even last night. Fnatic getting 2 7-3s last night. So yeah, 7-1. And here we are, Nixion, another 6 points this week, guys. That's going to put them on 12 points, 4 map wins, no losses, no draws.
And that should place them first in the standings, or keep them in first place?
I believe Fnatic will be first just because they've played extra matches.
Well, there you go. I'm interested to ask Kanga, once we get the interview, hopefully, a simple question. What went wrong? And I know that isn't really a simple question because obviously it has a lot of complexities in that. But you know what? I have you here to answer that question. What do you think really went wrong for Kanga, particularly on map number 2? Because I think we both agree that map number 1 wasn't the worst. It was quite a strong performance from both teams. And Nixion just edged out. But map number 2, that was a whole nother story.
Yeah, and it wasn't as close as you were saying in terms of like their performance. I think they were pretty outplayed. Most of those defenses they lost It didn't really come down to like a nail biter or even one simple thing. I think there was some broader things that they need to look at for Clubhouse. I couldn't pinpoint it for you, but I just think maybe not capitalizing on things when they should have. A big indicator for me on those attacks was Vast Rome on that church. God Legion as well, he was there. Like, they should have been shut down. They took them low early, so they obviously knew of their presence. They knew exactly or roughly where they were. But no one ever really stepped up to follow drones in or actually tried to follow it up. They didn't effectively cut their rotations because they both actually ended up getting back to site. So I think that's a big one for me. Quite a few things to look at on their defenses, even strategically. Putting a Goyo shield that you're going to play behind is always a super big risk, and Wayne Man stuck it deep even though there was a hole right in front of it, so stuff like that will always come back to bite you.
And I guess for Onyxian, their attacks tonight looked really, really good. Is there maybe anything that you can sort of nitpick that maybe didn't quite go their way? I know that they only lost the one round on map number 2, and that was really on the back of Kanga throwing out just some desperate strat with the roam.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that they sort of struggled with that roam clear, is there anything else maybe that Nixion need to try and refine? Because we know that when they verse these higher teams, you know, Wildcard, Fnatic, those weaknesses will only be exploited further. For
sure, and what's actually scary about that is you say that they excelled in their attacks, and they did 2 rounds the entire night they lost an attack. They won every other attack round, so that's a pretty damning stat. On top of that, we talked about the 2 different styles that we saw. Clubhouse, very methodical, sophisticated attack, good use of utility. Villa was just pure teamwork and coordination, refragging out when they take site late. That's 2 very different ways to play an attack, and both ways they executed quite well. In terms of what they need to work on, definitely like that room clear. Maybe just not being thorough. Maybe they were being a bit complacent, seeing as they were 5 rounds up. That can happen a lot. But that's probably something they need to work on because, for example, Fnatic, we saw them execute some pretty strong Clubhouse roams. Virtue is not an easy snake to tame, so they're probably going to have to tighten that up to contend with those bigger teams.
Well, we do have a Nixion ready and waiting on the line. It is Vast. Let's bring him up and have a word. G'day, Vast. Hope you're doing all right, mate. I guess first impressions after that matchup, how are you guys feeling? How did that stack up?
Oh yeah, we're really happy with our performance. The boys were just going crazy. Like, yeah, it was just nuts.
I really want to ask you about Villa and especially the attacks. You guys ended up getting 5 of those attacks, which is not common for Villa. And on top of that, you weren't really focused as much on your utility use for those attacks. Was that a conscious effort, or did you actually struggle in the early stages of those attacks?
It was, like, we kind of knew that we needed to go for pick. They were bringing a lot of, like, denial utility, smoke, yokai, stuff like that. So we knew we needed to play a little bit more loose, try to find picks and try to trade each other.
Yep. And again, I want to ask about the veto. Did that really turn out the way you guys were expecting? Were both those maps that ones that you prepared for and ones that you wanted to play?
So Villa was like probably the 3rd map we expected to play, but we did not expect to be playing Club tonight. Yeah, the veto kind of went a little bit weird for us. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we played a bit loose on Club, so it turned out for the best.
Now, we were sort of talking about this a little bit during the rehost in map number 2. You guys obviously are Orgless at the moment. So before we wrap it up, is there anything you'd like to say to maybe some Orgs out there that are looking to pick a team up and anything that you think you can bring to the table?
Yeah, just someone pick us up. We don't want to be Orgless for long. But yeah, like, I don't know, we try our hardest to, you know, try to have a good work ethic and try to our best to have a good reputation. So I guess that's what we can kind of promise to an org.
Awesome. Well, Vast, we appreciate your time and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Cheers, guys.
Wholesome. We haven't said that yet tonight, so I had to throw it in there.
That's Dev's line. Everybody's wholesome in Dev's eyes.
Yeah. He seemed pretty content. I mean, why wouldn't you be? 7-3, 7-1. Just another 6 points in the bag.
Yep. I'll tell you what surprised me, though, is that Clubhouse was an unexpected arrival for them in the map veto because that was what they were stronger on.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if I believe him. Is Vast like playing some mind games or something? Like, they look pretty good on that map. I don't think they're running anything maybe too crazy. I feel like for the most part it was pretty default.
Yeah.
But the way that they executed it was pretty flawless, and the scoreline shows.
Yeah, I think that's a definitely good thing to point out as well. There's nothing like overly special that they did strategically. It was just executed really well and Kanga just not able to pull out any stops to counter it. So, yeah, he seemed quite confident, and yeah, they're putting in a good showing so far and a good message to Orgs about picking them up.
And I know we talked about this during the rehost about the fact that maybe they are a real sort of chance for the top 2. Does that still stand after that second map? I'm tipping you're probably going to say yes.
Yeah.
But, like, let's be real. Is it actually really, really a chance? Because we know ANZ, top heavy, blah, blah, blah. But that gap is closing down.
Yeah, I think it's actually hard to say that ANZ is top heavy these days. I think especially showing or seeing the vulnerabilities that Wildcard have now shown us in this first couple of weeks. Nixion have definitely made a great play for the top 2 position now. They're at 12 points. They haven't dropped anything so far. Comparatively to Wildcard, we talk about it, they've essentially dropped 4 points that they could have possibly had. So Nixion will be on 12, Wildcard are going to be on 8. And going deep into the season, that's going to be tough. It basically means that, considering all teams being perfect, Wildcard will have to beat Onyxian on both of the maps when they play each other later. Otherwise, if they both win all their matches, Wildcard cannot finish on top of them.
Well, Onyxian looking pretty strong, but unfortunately, Kanga didn't have the greatest night tonight. We do have Yoshi in the call. Let's bring him up and have a word. G'day, Yoshi.
Hello, how are we doing?
Commiserations for tonight, mate. Probably not the result you were looking for. Talk us through how you guys feeling, and what do you think really went wrong? Because map number 1, it was okay. Map number 2, not so okay.
Yeah, I mean, in the first map, obviously, we did everything right in the first part of the round, and it came down to the last 30 seconds where, you know, evidently we couldn't hold the doorways, which was really frustrating. I think that kind of got to us throughout the whole map, and then, you know, attack from there. Obviously, the first couple of rounds were really good, and then we tried to switch up the speed just to keep the ball rolling. Obviously, they countered us pretty heavily, and then it kind of, you know, fell apart from there.
Yeah, you guys are in a unique position now where you've played essentially what people would consider the top 3 teams now for ANZ based on last season. So I want to hear your thoughts on where maybe they might end up in that top 2, top 3 position based on your point of view from playing all of those teams.
I mean, each team has its respectable strengths and weaknesses. I think we caught Fnatic off guard a little bit. Obviously, they just played Quals, so, you know, maybe a little bit tired. Wildcard, on the other hand, again, you know, we were extremely comfortable in bank. So, you know, and mixed up a few things, which again caught them off guard. While as Onyxian, apologies, they had us, you know, every round just winning gunfights and whatnot, and just doing the simple things which we were missing, and it showed.
Yeah, and I guess for the rest of the season moving forward, you had a great opening 2 weeks, even though tonight's results weren't exactly what you were hoping for. How are you feeling moving forward? You're still confident that you can avoid that relegation zone?
Yeah, I think we're definitely still confident. Obviously, the time that we had to prep for Nixion was a lot less than Wildcard, and it definitely affected us to some extent. So I think given now that we have a week's break moving into TBD, I believe, we should be a lot more confident and hopefully kind of take a step forward in the right direction.
Yep. You guys had quite a lot of support in the community poll tonight. Before we wrap things up, is there anything you'd like to say to all the Kanga fans out there?
Just cheers for supporting us. Obviously, we couldn't pull through today, but hopefully next time we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoshi. We'll see you next time, mate. All the best.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
Yeah, awesome.